Hello and welcome to the Lift Up Journeys podcast. My name is Katie and I'm one of the founding members of Lift Up Women in Life Sciences, a community created to connect, champion and inspire women from academia through to C-suite across the life sciences industry. I'm looking forward to sharing with you an inspiring collection of career stories from a group of wonderful women who work in leadership positions across the life sciences industry. I hope by listening to these stories, you will feel inspired in your own career and gain the skills, confidence, and knowledge you need to climb the career ladder and break through the glass ceiling. Welcome to today's episode of Lift Up Journeys. Today, I am joined by the wonderful Eylem Sentürk. I have had the pleasure of knowing Eylem now for just over a year, I believe. Introduced to Eylem by a couple of women who were in my network, really recommended Eylem to me as somebody who has a fantastic reputation in our industry, but also a really, really good drive for helping women to develop in their own careers. So today's episode is to talk all about Eylem's experience and also to learn all about Eylem's new venture in her own business. So would be wonderful, Eylem, if you could give us just a short introduction to you.
Thanks a lot, Katie. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. Basically, I started my career 22 years ago in the life science industry. But before that, I was working in the private banking for 3 years. And after 3 years, I moved into the pharma industry, basically. And 3 years ago, I left the corporate world and established Women on Stage. My educational background is on one hand, in the banking environment. And then when I moved into the life science industry, I studied at the University of London, University of Liverpool. I did a leadership training at Harvard. I did a master's in psychology at the University of Liverpool. And today what I do is basically something completely new. So because I have changed 3 times in my career, the direction from banking into the pharma industry and from pharma industry into talent development and career development. And for the last 3 years, I have been purely dedicated to Women on Stage, where I work with women, individual women who are in the life science industry want to advance in their career and feel kind of stuck. And I can share later on more who are these women, because I work with 4 different groups of women. And there is a program that I have designed to address their needs and challenges. That's it basically.
Amazing. And what a journey you've been on in your career. It's fascinating to be able to delve a little bit further into that today. And I'm right in thinking home for you now is obviously in Basel, but when you were a child, you didn't live in Switzerland, do you? You were born and raised in Turkey. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, definitely. So I was born and raised in Turkey until the age of 12, and then we immigrated to Switzerland. Basically, my father had decided to leave Turkey because he was politically active, and he came as a refugee to Switzerland, and we as family came to Switzerland as a refugee. So it has been 35 years now that I have been living in Switzerland, living and working in Switzerland. But I was studying outside of Switzerland because during my time as a refugee, where I initially wanted to study law and nothing to do with life science industry or banking industry, because I was so focused on human rights, right? The human rights were like in the middle of my life, in the center of my life. And I was caring so much about the rights of human, but also women rights. But since I wasn't allowed to study in Switzerland because I was a refugee, I had to find different opportunities, different ways to work in Switzerland and to finance my life, right? This is also how I started my career in the banking industry and banking environment. And when we could then stay in Switzerland, get a permit in Switzerland, I shifted my direction into the life science industry because I very soon realized that, you know, working with money or for money was not my purpose, was not serving my purpose. I wanted to have that my work has a direct impact on people's life, and what I do has a meaning. So therefore, I moved and I shifted into the life science industry. I worked in regulatory affairs, started as a departmental assistant. So, and that has actually taught me a lot, working with, regulatory agencies, health authorities, managing clinical trials, marketing authorization applications. That has taught me a lot. Also, from a mindset point of view, in terms of communication, in terms of interacting with people, negotiating with people, but also from a quality and compliance point of view. So, yeah. And over the last 35 years, I had learned a lot being in Switzerland. I only lived and worked in Switzerland, but I had interacted, and I'm still interacting on a daily basis with so many different cultures, from different personalities. And this is actually something that is so beautiful, to be able to work with so many different personalities, women and men, and so with so many different cultures. So it's really like a rainbow, right?
Yeah,
You work with all types of people, level, hierarchical level, needs, demands, and that's really something that is very joyful.
I couldn't agree more. In the nature of my role and what I do at Fraser Duff International, I'm global, and it's a wonderful part of my day being able to connect with people who live in different locations. Quite often they've grown up in a different location, they've got a really interesting story, their culture is very different, and being able to talk to them about their career goals, their motivations, their challenges, of course, as well. It's really, really interesting, and I love learning about people's cultures and
Well,
everything, and how that's affected them as a person and how it's developed them as a person. So I could completely resonate with you. What was it about the pharma industry that stood out? It's obviously so different to the banking world, as you said. What was it about pharma that you really enjoyed?
actually, I mean, my movement into pharma was by coincidence. It wasn't, before that, I didn't know that pharma existed because, I mean, I was living outside of Basel and I was very young. And I knew Switzerland is has a huge banking industry, but I didn't know much about the pharma until I met a guy who I am still connected with. And he said, "Okay, Eylem, you know what? I see you in pharma because you're such a relator, right? You like being interacting with people. You like having conversations with people, and you are an achiever, and you are a supporter, right? So you're also a quick learner. So I see you in pharma." And he was actually a recruiter, and he, when I reached out to him that I'm now looking for opportunities in other industries where I can have an impact, where I can have a direct impact on people's life, he said immediately, "You need to go to pharma. Basel is the pharma hub, life science hub, and you can grow in life science. It's actually the best place to be now, but also in future, and you can very quickly move up in your career with your skills and strengths." And what I loved I mean, I started my career at Actelion. I was 5 years at Actelion, which is now acquired by Johnson and Johnson. And then I moved later to Celgene, which was acquired by Bristol Myers. A lot of acquisitions and mergers are happening. Then I moved to V4 Pharma, which was then acquired by CSL Behring. And then I moved to Novartis and later on to Bayer. So what I really liked and enjoyed is this diversity, right? Life science and pharma is very diverse. So, and I always worked at the global headquarters. So from that point of view, I was exposed to so many different cultures, individuals, and I could take on step by step more and more responsibility. So I started as a departmental assistant, then I moved into a junior regulatory manager role, then senior manager role, then a team lead. So in the end, I was leading a team of 14 people. So within 22 years, I could move step by step in my career. And I mean, I'm not a scientist. I was never a scientist. As I said, I bring a banking background and also a background in psychology because I then later on did my psychological education. But I was I was a very quick learner by doing the tasks. I was learning very quickly by doing. And I was lucky that the companies that I was working for and the leaders that I was working with, they were believing in me, and they supported my career development internally, but also externally. And therefore, I was, I got trainers, educations which were paid by the company, and this growing opportunities within the life science industry. It was amazing. Also from the, to how you can learn from the individuals who are the experts in their field, right? So the learning and growing opportunities were really fascinating me. And I mean, I still see that there are opportunities. Sometimes we women face challenges, right? We can also talk about that. But there are, if someone believes in you, especially your line manager, or if you have people within the company with whom you have built trustful relationship, the growth can be amazing.
Yeah. Did you feel it was tougher for you because you didn't have a science degree?
I think it was tough, but I'm not sure if it was tougher because in many situations I could perform better and deliver better solutions than someone who came with a PhD, freshly graduated, not having the experience or only few-year experience. So because what helped me a lot to grow so quick and to become so visible within what I was doing within the department, within the company, was it goes back to my at departmental admin time. I was, at that time we had fax machines. We were faxing.
Yeah.
You remember, and when we were doing submissions, we had to print everything. We did not even have the CDs, right? We had to print everything and send everything in a lorry,
Yeah.
And I was really taking the time to read. I was even printing what was sent from the fax machine, or when I was compiling dossiers, I was reading the dossiers. And that gave me a lot of knowledge, provided me with a lot of information, or even questions, validation or assessment questions from the health authorities. I was reading those questions and also the answers that regulatory experts had provided. And that was collecting for me. I was preparing a repository with all the questions and answers. And this helped me a lot later on when what I was responsible for marketing authorization applications, that I could much quicker draft an answer. And sometimes my managers or senior directors were really surprised. How can it be that someone without a scientific degree can propose something right? Like this. And this was really, I mean, I was, thinking back, yeah, this comes all from my regulatory departmental assistant role. And also I had a manager. I was then, I moved from a departmental assistant into a clinical trial management role. And I was given to someone, like I was, she became my manager, and she was hiding knowledge and information and binders from me. She was locking them in the cupboard and taking the key with her so that I don't progress, that I don't have access to that knowledge.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So, and I was just really, really trying to find from other resources, from other people, all the information, and staying until sometimes midnight in the office to read, to prepare for the next day. So to gather that all of that knowledge, to really increase my knowledge about those topics, that I'm really prepared for the meeting the next day. So I think that all kind of pushed me, and I hardly had any situation where people told me, "Oh, how do you know, right? How do you know?" Because you don't have the scientific background, or you don't have the scientific knowledge.
That's good to hear. Did you always have such a passion for learning? Because I can hear it in your voice as you're talking that you're so passionate about learning and developing. Was that something you always had, even when you were younger?
Yes, I one of my core skills is learner. Like I'm very curious, and I learn. I can learn for hours and days and nights. If there is a topic that interests me, I would not let go, you know. So I was like that since I know myself. I was very curious. I wanted to acquire knowledge, information, because I always believed knowledge is power.
Yes.
But knowledge about anything, so knowledge about people. This is also why I'm interested in people, and I started also very early on to build a network within the business environment, but also outside of business environment. I always had people who could help me, who I could go and ask for help. But before asking help, I always offered my help, right? Um, and I was also like asking them questions, 10,000 different questions about their, how did they do? How do you do that? What do you think about this? And what would be your advice here and there? And people, when they saw me, that I'm so curious, right? I want to learn. I'm burning for the knowledge. They were giving me more and more. They were delegating me tasks. They were taking me with to some meetings, events, introducing me to people, because they trusted me, and they knew if I am with them, they will never regret. Or whenever they give or delegate me something, they will never regret. They will, they will get something bigger in return.
Yeah, that's really interesting. You mentioned obviously building a network. What point in your career did you start to actually think, I want to build a network? Or was it something that just came naturally to you?
Oh, I think that is it. It's. I don't know if it's natural, but since I know myself, I started building a network. Probably because I saw how impactful it is. Because from the culture that I come from, I'm from coming from Turkey, and we live in communities, right? We
Yeah.
have a big family. We care about each other. We support each other. It's part of the culture, and it's common sense. So we share our food, we share our knowledge, we share whatever we have, and we help without asking, because we think, okay, today we help and tomorrow they will help. It's just give and take. It's common sense. Um, and with that, I'm growing in such an environment. When I think back, I have been working since I'm 7, because and I started building a community at that age already. Because I was, for example, I give you an example. I was 7 and I was going to school, of course, and I wanted to become financially independent. And I'm financially independent since I'm 7. I never took any penny from my family or from anyone, including my husband, yeah, because I say, look, my money is my money. Okay, it's our money, but I don't want to take any money from anyone. I want to be really independent because that gives me the freedom to do and, with my money and spend my money on. So when I was 7, we were living in a village where there was a hammam, this Turkish bath, Turkish hammam. And every Sunday we were going to the hammam to take a bath because we didn't have any bathrooms in our house at that time. And I was observing. I'm also a good observer. I was observing that women were running out of cold water after the bath. They were so thirsty and it was so hot, and they were somewhere taking some ice with them, ice blocks with them, and then they were running out of the ice and cold water very quickly. So I had this idea of bringing ice from home and selling it to them, right? So, and I started taking ice blocks from home and then selling them. But I mean, there was only Sunday I could go there, but the hammam was running 7 days a week. So I started building a small community of kids who could go Monday, Tuesday, until Friday. So, and with that, we were sharing the income. So they had some income, I had some income. So they had their provision, I had my money. And with that, I thought, okay, look, if there is a big challenge and you cannot overcome it yourself, so you start building a community. And with that community, you can overcome the challenge. So because I couldn't be there every day, I could be only there on Sunday. So 6 days, 6 other people could take over the responsibility. And with that, we share the money. So, and that gave me the flavor of building communities and how impactful these communities can be, and how each individual can contribute to the community, but also learn, and take away from the community. So, yeah, and then I continued that when I moved to Switzerland. I started working also here when I was 12 as a babysitter in shops. And then I built there a community. I always had people who I could go to, ask, get help, support from, my age to really, I think my one of the top advisors I had was 98 years old lady.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I think that's so beneficial in your private life, but also in your business life.
Absolutely. And you can take the learnings from your personal life, can't you? And apply that to your own career development. So being able to build networks, build friendships, build relationships, and bring that into a working environment. I think that's a fantastic skill to have. Doesn't come naturally to everyone. I think that some people really have to push themselves to understand what networking is, why we should do it, and what the benefits are, but also how you go about doing it as well, which is great. From your experiences of being in the pharma industry, was there particular networking events that you went to frequently, or was there particular groups of people that you would target for your networking?
Um, until recently, I did not come across networking events. I think only in the last couple of years, like before pandemic and during pandemic online, but before pandemic and after pandemic, I think those networking events have become so popular. Before, probably they were, but I wasn't aware of. I had my own strategy. I have developed my own strategy. Um, so I was always I'm kind of very strategic person on one hand. I always knew what my next steps would be. And that comes from playing chess. I have been playing chess since I am 9 or 10. Because
Wow.
in chess, you need to plan in advance, your next 3, 5, 7, 10 steps ahead. You need to plan ahead. And if you want to survive, and, when I was a child and later in Switzerland, I was always on a survival mood. So if you want to survive, you have to plan your next steps. And I did the same with my network, right? I always plan, okay, where do I want to go? Who can help me? So what are my needs? What are my goals, short-term, mid-term, long-term goals? And then what are my needs for each goal? And who are the people who can help me, support me to achieve that goal? And I use that, in my private life, but also in business life. In my business life, for example, when I joined a company, the first thing was to really connect with people, to understand their way of communication, their communication style, their what they would expect from me, how they would want me to communicate with them. How do they want me to reach out to them? Before the pandemic, we didn't have online meetings. So phone, email, face to face, right? What is their preferred communication channel? And what are their values? What do they care about most? How can I connect with them on the value level? And with all of that, I tried to build first a trust, around it. So to become a trustful partner for them. And then when there was the trust established, then I could really offer them my support or ask their support and advice. And with that, I could grow my community, my network, have sponsors, mentors, coaches in my career who had helped me to move to the next level. And I have also learned a lot from them in terms of communication style, how to communicate with different stakeholders, how to address different topics in a very precise and short way, how to, manage any conflictual situations or master the conflictual situations, how to use my body language. So how to reach out to them via email in a very short way. So with all these learnings, I think I could become better and better, and also help others to become better and to really achieve their goals, their desires.
Was there a particular turning point in your career where you went from obviously asking questions, finding mentors for you, to you then becoming a mentor or a coach for other people? Can you find a time where you started to change?
Yeah, when I joined Actelion as a departmental assistant, there was a senior leader, I can give her name, Katerina Etfiel, and I'm really still thankful, and we became friends. So she was then my manager. So she was really, she was my, the collaboration with her has changed my life so positively, because she saw that I'm a hard worker, and she saw that I was providing high quality work, right? And she saw that I'm a curious person. And in return, she offered me her help, her support, and she became my first career sponsor. And after we have worked 5 years together, so what she did is she promoted me from a departmental assistant to clinical trial manager, and from there to regulatory manager, right? So, and then when she decided to leave the company, she offered me to join her to
Wow.
to the company that she did go. And there she offered me to become actually a line manager. and to hire people, to train people, to coach people, and to manage a group of people. So that was really something that changed my career. If she wasn't there, I'm not sure how would have been. Probably I would have found someone else. I don't know. But she really was the one who opened the doors to me, right? Because she believed in me, and I never, disappointed her. And we are still in contact. She became a friend of mine, and she supported me also for 7 years when we then continued working in that company. And I had learned a lot from her, from a leadership point of view, from a communication point of view, from a mindset point of view. So she was really the top career sponsor. And then together with her later on, there was another lady. She was my second career sponsor, Katrin Ropala. So, and she is also someone that changed my life very positively. She's a quick thinker. So, and I learned from her a lot about how you can shift from, one topic to another, from one project to another project. How can you use your knowledge, but bring it very crispy clear to transfer it into a clear communication. So and these two ladies are really great friends of mine now, and they have helped me a lot in my career.
That's wonderful to hear. And all of that knowledge and all of those learnings that you've taken from them, you're now in a position to pass that on to other people, aren't you? So tell me a little bit more about what you enjoy about coaching others.
Yeah, I mean, coaching has been always a passion of me, but without knowing that it is coaching, let's say, because I was a person who was very eager to acquire the knowledge, but also very eager to share the knowledge, to pass the knowledge, right? Because again, I come from a culture where we share. Whatever we know, whatever we have, we share. And I was sharing my knowledge with my team members. I was caring a lot about their personal development and also their, career development. Although sometimes I was criticized for that because, I was criticized probably, right? Oh, why are you focusing so much on their personal development? That's not your business. I was like, yes, it is my business. Oh, they need to perform, they need to bring outcome. But I was like, if I don't know how they function, if I don't know what they care about,
and what
they will
motivates
not,
them.
yes, what motivates or demotivates them, they will not be high performers, right? They will not be able to perform. So I need to build that bridge between me and them to better understand them. And therefore I was running a lot of workshops, trainings to really understand how they are thinking, how they are behaving, how they are functioning, how they feel motivated, when do they feel demotivated, what are their strengths, what are they good at. So, and with all of that, I could really discover that flavor of coaching, training. And then, but when I was, after I finished my thesis, after I studying psychology, and then after I got my degree in psychology, I was working at Novartis at that time. And I was connected with a number of people in employee resource group. And one of them came to me and said, Eylem, you have a degree in psychology, right? I said, yes. So what would you want to teach about? If you had the opportunity to design trainings and workshops, what would you deliver? And they said, there are 3 topics I'm really passionate about: how to increase the motivation at work, positive behavior at work, and effective conflict management. And then she said, oh, do it. We give you the space and room. Do it. So I designed trainings, and they gave me the opportunity to really train, coach people. And within 2 years, I was able to train and coach 600 people.
Wow.
And that was amazing. I was like, oh my God, this is such a great tool to use by asking the right questions, open ended questions, helping people to discover what they need to discover without pushing them, without squeezing them into something, without putting pressure on them. Um, and I integrated a lot of learnings also from my psychological education, this therapeutic alliance, how to build trust, how to give them the room, the space to flourish, how to ask the right questions, how to, build that bonding, how to help them to discover their needs and also their goals, and how to help them to navigate through their challenges and overcome those challenges. And when I was then, when I left Novartis, moved to Bayer, I took all of that and integrated that also into my trainings for my team. And then I thought, okay, now enough corporate life. I have seen enough. I have experienced enough. I need to go to another level, and I want to focus on the women, because I have been seeing, and also I was, of course, despite all these beautiful things that I was experiencing, there were also a number of challenges that I was experiencing, right? Because I have a very strong personality. I'm very outspoken. I'm very direct, and sometimes this is not always welcomed. And having a strong woman in the room, that can also be sometimes challenging for some women and men. And therefore, I was also facing a number of challenges. I was bullied twice in my career. That was a challenge that I had to go, and I learned a lot out of it. So I thought, okay, now I'm also mature enough and safe enough, because taking a risk to become an entrepreneur, was a decision that I could only take at the age of 43, when I felt, look, I am mature enough, I have enough knowledge, although I'm learning every day, but I feel I can now take the risk. It's time to take the risk now.
Yeah. What was it that was almost the biggest learning that you took from those difficult experiences? Because to hear you've been bullied twice, it must have been a really difficult situation for you. What was the biggest learning you can now take from that experience?
Oh yes, it was a very tough time. The first time I was bullied, it was for 3 years. Then the second time for 1 year. And the first time when I was experiencing bullying, I didn't know that it was bullying. There was something going on, and they didn't know what was going on. It took me 1 year to find out what was going on, and to give a name to it, that this is bullying. And then the second year, I was trying to get help, reach out to people, no success. And the third year, I started becoming sick. I was getting, I was moving more and more into this negative mental
Yeah.
health. I was developing anxiety and like depression. And then I needed a treatment for 6 months, therapy. And then I was, I had a career break of 2.5 years. I needed 2.5 years to recover. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then when I did go back after 2.5 years to another company, to another manager, I thought, oh, everything is fine. I'm now recovered. I'm kind of fixed. Because the initial company where I was experiencing that, they told me, you need to go and get fixed, So,
Okay. Yeah.
I took the time to go and get fixed. And then when it happened second time, the company was different, the manager was different, but the situation was the same. So actually, my learning was, and then I decided to study psychology, because I thought, if this is happening to me second time, there must be something wrong with me. A lot of women blame themselves. I was blaming also that
Yes.
myself, that there must be something wrong with me, right? And to find out what was wrong with me, I decided to study psychology. Yes, there was something wrong with me. I cannot blame only my managers or the company culture. What was wrong with me was that I had the belief that because I'm so supportive, because I'm so helpful, because I'm so nice, because I'm so giver, and caretaker, I have the open door policy, I'm so direct, I'm not mean, that I am actually there. I can be successful with all of that. And that was wrong, because first of all, I had to learn how to communicate with each stakeholder, like hierarchical level, because every hierarchical level has a different communication style. The more you move up, the redder or red you become. So you cannot be as, you know, uh, supportive, caring when you talk to someone that is on the top. So you need to tailor your communication towards some people. But I had to also learn that the way how I was, I can be perceived as a threat. So because I was having conversations with the CEO of the company, with top leaders. I was having lunch, coffee breaks, because I wanted to learn from them, right? I was so curious. I wanted to learn from them.
Yeah.
I want to understand how they are thinking, how they are deciding. And also increase my network and the visibility without
Yeah.
having any bad intention. But this interaction was kind of perceived by my two managers as, what is she doing? Is she trying to overtake our role? Is she trying to become more visible? Right? I was kind of triggering some emotions of, yeah, some emotions, negative emotions in them,
Yeah.
where
It's
they
an
had to,
insecurity.
insecurity, where they had to defend their position. And out of that defense, they, change their verbal communication and the body language in a negative way. And I did not know that my actions were triggering that, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And during the psychological education, I learned how our emotions can trigger some behaviors. And we need to understand why these emotions are triggered.
Yeah.
Of course, I couldn't find them out for them, but I could find out for me what emotions or what hot buttons are pushed, and how these hot buttons are transferred into a negative communication or negative body language. And when I learned that, when it made click, I was like, okay, now I understand. So I became more conscious about my communication style, about my interactions. And then I started involving my managers. When I felt, oh, there is some insecurity, these people feel kind of insecure, women or men, I started involving them and also spending more time with them to build the trust.
Yeah.
So I said, look, I'm not a competitor. I'm here to help you to shine, to grow. And when you shine, we all will shine together. So, and with that, I think my learning was that I had to learn for myself and transform myself, and so that I can prevent certain negative behaviors towards me in my career, in my business environment. And this is also something that I provide as part of my coachings, right? We need to work on ourselves. We need to start with us. We can blame 10,000 other people. It will
Yeah,
not, change anything. It will not happen. It will not improve anything. We need to start changing ourselves. Then
absolutely.
things will change, because people will react to that positively, to that change.
What a story, Eylem. That's fantastic. The resilience that you've shown, despite going through all of that, is fantastic. And the strength of character you have too is great. I wanted to finish up today and talking a little bit more about the leap to you setting up your own business. Could you tell us what made you set up Women on Stage? Tell us a little bit more about it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, first of all, my observations and my experiences, right? I mean, I was an immigrant myself, and with being an immigrant, I had to move up, in my career. And you mentioned, like, if it was more challenging for me, probably it was without me realizing, but, so I had small steps. Probably if I wasn't an immigrant, it would have me, I had a quicker steps. But then later on, when I was a mom, during my pregnancy, I was not promoted. After maternity, I was not promoted. And the reasons were like, oh, who knows whether you will come back full time? You might stop working, or you might plan a second child. So, and during those, or while becoming pregnant and having kids, going back to work, I had a kind of, I think I was not promoted for 7 years almost, right?
Well,
And this is something that not only I was experiencing, but a lot of women have been experiencing, and I work also with those women nowadays. Another thing was that women were not supported, too often. They were shifted into mentorship programs, one mentorship program here, one mentorship program there, with the focus on personal development, but not necessarily on the career development, right? And
yeah.
I was observing men having a sponsor, someone that is really powerful in the company, who was really focusing on the career progression, and who was talking about this person behind the closed doors, sharing his CV or connecting him with other leaders within the company, outside of the company, to increase his visibility. So, and making all these observations, I said, okay, why are we, or why can we not benefit from the sponsorship program? Is there anything out there that we can benefit from? And then when I saw that there wasn't anything at that time, I said, okay, let's create something. Yeah, design something. And therefore I designed the sponsoring women program, the sponsorship program, which is basically a career acceleration program for 4 groups of women. So for young academicians who want to transition into the life science industry, for women back to business, women who had a career break, who want to go back to business but finding it challenging. Then women in business who are great leaders and talents, but are not considered as talents or cannot move up because there's no career development opportunity, or they are facing bullying like me, or they are close to burnout. And the 4th group is women 50 plus, women, highly qualified women, highly educated women, who are the first ones who lose their job when there's a reorganization within a company, or women, they are being considered as too expensive,
Yeah.
right, when they're over 50.
Yeah.
So in the sponsorship program, the sponsorship program has 2 pillars. One pillar is to create a profile. So we do a profiling with their CV, success stories, LinkedIn profile, rebranding, strengths, conflict management style, resilience level, communication style. And then we discuss, okay, what is her career aspiration, like long-term, short-term, mid-term, long-term goals, and what does she need for each goal? And then we connect her with one or up to 3 career sponsors who are leaders working already in a company who can advocate for their career advancement. So these leaders can be within the same company if she wants to move up within the same company, or these leaders can be outside of the company. And those leaders have 2 main responsibilities. So one, the first responsibility is if they have a role, they can consider the female talent for, they would bring her into that role with no recruitment costs for the company. However, if they don't have a role in place, the second responsibility is to increase the visibility of the female talent. They can connect her with other leaders in their own network within the company, but also outside of the company, or they can invite them to networking events, conferences, where they can connect her with other leaders. And with that, her visibility increases. And with her visibility, she has a much quicker access to the hidden job market, right? Through those leaders. Yeah. So, and what we also do whenever there is an interview invitation, we prepare for the interview with the body language, with the communication, with the background, with the salary, like with her market value, how she can negotiate the salary. And when she signs a contract, she can become a career sponsor for someone else. And her relationship with her career sponsor will continue because it should turn into a long-term relationship.
Yes, I completely agree.
So that's the program about.
Fantastic. Eylem, that is wonderful. I always love hearing about women on stage. I think it is a fantastic opportunity for so many women to become visible. I think it's finally giving a platform to those who have maybe felt for quite some time that they are not visible, or they don't have the access to the resources. Maybe they don't have that in their current organization, so they need to find it externally. So congratulations on setting up something so fantastic. I know I can speak for our whole Lift Up team here that we really, really enjoy following and working and supporting what you do over at Women on Stage. And also a big thank you for sharing your personal career journey today as well, because it's been fantastic to be able to hear how you have transitioned your time in the industry and how you have been able to give back to so many women already. So thank you very much for sharing your story with us. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Thanks, Katie, and thanks a lot. And I think with Lift Up, we share a lot of, we share the same vision, right? With our vision is to really increase the number of female leaders, increase the number of female talents, but also give them the room and space to shine with their authenticity, with their strengths, with their skills, and also to grant them access to the roles with salaries that is in line with their market value, right? We want to, on one hand, close the gender pay gap, but also ensure gender equality.
Absolutely. I think that is very much underlying of Lift Up's vision. Our mission as a community is to give women that opportunity so we can help to tackle gender diversity.
Wow.
And also there is such a power in community as well. So we love collaborating with you, and we really look forward to continuing to work with you, whether that's face to face, whether we can bring our communities together virtual as well. So thank you very much for sharing your story with us today, Eylem. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you, Katie, for this unique opportunity. I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.